I'm going to talk about the health effects that we have evidence of from Chernobyl, from nuclear testing, from other nuclear accidents here in UK, and from some older and some very interesting more recent work that has been done around nuclear power stations in Germany. The health evidence of radiation may seem a rather detailed discussion, but it should weigh in very heavily on the debate, because everyone can relate to it. It's what it's all about, and it is accumulating, and we still are receiving information from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, particularly around solid tumours, such as tumours of the gastric tract, breast tumours, etc. So we are still learning from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. One of the liquidators who went into Chernobyl immediately after the disaster, Natalia Manzarova, said, "I sincerely hope that people will remember accountability and that the nuclear industry will become obsolete in the future." She said that in 2003 after a lot of severe illness, including having the Chernobyl necklace after surgery to the thyroid. And the 180 workers who are working shifts as we speak, unable to go home, only able to send text messages to their children in Fukushima, are probably thinking the same thing. Because health information is so strong for the public, and because it's sensitive and because everyone can understand it, there has over the years been a concerted effort by the nuclear industry to discredit both professional research and information that should have been taken far more seriously, albeit it was somewhat subjective information coming from the ground. And this has even applied to the health of the liquidators themselves. The Atomic Energy Agency in 2005 stated that cancer and death rate studies that have been conducted among samples of the recorded liquidators have shown no direct correlation between radiation exposure from Chernobyl and increased cancer and death rates. Now that's an extraordinary denial, and that is what we are up against in the nuclear industry. The most common cancer associated with Chernobyl is of course thyroid cancer. And as early as '96, a professor, Inna Merkelova from the Sakharov Institute in Minsk, was saying they were really noticing increased cancer thyroid cases, incidence of cancer thyroid cases in young children, whereas prior to the Chernobyl disaster it had mainly been in older people, and they were also noticing a peak in 45 to 49-year-olds. 10 years later, the World Health Organization and the IAEA produced a report called Chernobyl, the True Scale of the Accident, in which they admitted there were probably 4,000 new cancer thyroid cases. However, they said that 99% of these could happily be cured, and someone with a great deal of experience in this area, Keith Baverstock, who was head of radiation and health at the World Health Organization for some time, said he felt very concerned about this report because it attempted to draw a line 20 years after, under the health effects, when a lot was still being learnt, including about thyroid cancer, and he pointed out that due to abnormal cell mutations and due to different latency periods that were still being noticed, that we had a lot to learn about thyroid cancer, and it was far from the end of the line for looking at the health effects of Chernobyl. However, as many of you know, the World Health Organization has rather an exceptional agreement with the IAEA, which states, and I've forgotten the exact wording, which states that what they're working on, this came in 59, 2 years after the Windscale disaster, and it states that everything should be discussed between the two organizations, in inverted commas, with a view to adjusting the matter by mutual agreement. And this has hampered the World Health Organization for so long, and its hands are tied to a degree by the industry. And I'm not saying the World Health Organization isn't responsible in some way, but it has come under huge pressure to work closely with the IAEA and to produce reports such as the one in 2006. If you look for the 2006 report now, it's very difficult to find on the website, whereas the media statement, which downplays the risks even further, is everywhere. I'm sure many of you know the other health effects, the solid tumours, the leukemias. And I'd just like to finish by talking about a really interesting bit of research that's come out of Germany in 2008 that we really cannot deny. It's called the KICK study, which is the German acronym. And its strengths are, and this is a good one to quote to anyone that questions you about the dangers around nuclear power stations. Its strengths are, the study was very large. It included all 16 of the 20 nuclear power stations in Germany that are fully active. And it looked at distance from the power station as well as just incidents within a certain area. And it came up with significant results that there is an increased risk of both solid tumours and leukemia for children under 5, and because it measured distance of people's residence from the nuclear power stations, it is also able to say that if you live within 5 kilometres, you're twice as likely if you're an under 5 child to get leukemia as if you live 10 kilometres away. This is really significant stuff, but one of the results has been to say that this cannot possibly be correct because the amount of radiation that comes out of the nuclear power stations is not enough to cause that level of cancer. So we know where this is coming from. We heard it after Windscale, they said the same thing. When Windscale became Sellafield and people looked at the clusters of leukemia then, the industry backed people to say the same thing, that this cannot be scientifically right. There must be another cause because the number of cases of leukemia is too large for the amount of radiation being emitted. So we have to weigh in. We have to weigh in with the health effects. The inquiry our government has launched now is due to finish in May. There is no way they're going to know the effects from Fukushima by May. So why is it finishing in May? Why are they giving their results in May? And also, why they're trying to define it as just a safety issue, a construction issue. The health effects have to weigh in. The health effects long ago passed the cumulative evidence, passed the benchmark, if you like, for the precautionary principle to say that just given the health effects, we know there is ample evidence to weigh in on the side of the risk is such that we should have no nuclear new build. Yeah. And we failed the liquidators in Chernobyl, and I hope we don't fail those that are working so hard now to clear up the radiation in Fukushima. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marion. Sorry to try and rush you, but we've got